Lieutenant Loverlady.
Back in June, we saw the release of Legend 69. Wait. This isn't what I was expecting. Spear and Chakram, holy! BMG always knows what kind of weapon combos want to see. First it was Great Sword and Spear, then it was Cannon Spear, and now it's Chakram Spear. I know it's really because I'm a disgusting spear player, sorry not sorry, but it's just a really good compliment to the other weapons I was playing at the times, considering I was maining Magyar on Lin Fei. I'm also really glad that they aren't completely forgetting about Chakram already, considering this is already our 4th Chakram Legend. Now, there's a lot to Orus in each of his respective categories, even for how little people seem to talk about him just a month after his release, so let's not stall and move on to the signatures. We'll cover Orus' spear signatures first. They seem to be more revolved around nets and traps, so his signatures are a little bit more on the confusing side. Not really confusing, but they just have more detail to them compared to Chakram. But it's not that bad to get used to. Let's start with Spear and Sig. The signature has one unified thing that makes it stand out pretty well: the active input. The only signature on Orus to have active input as well. You can only imagine what the signature would be like without it. Insig gets a fair amount of force, sitting at 50-55 and 26 damage as well, with most being rounded out into the final hit. I mainly like this one so much because of how clean it is to hit when slide charging off stage or catching that one dodge on someone at orange off stage and barely killing at 100 damage. It's truly evil, I know. Overall a great spear sig, and I would go as far to say it's his best spear signature. Spear side sig is another great one with an even 50-50 force and 24 damage. Again, the final hit holds most of the damage. The main idea of this signature is the crazy range you get from using it. Pair that with a dash or a slide charge even, and it just covers crazy distance, further than the Rupture's Lance side sig pre-nerf. Either way, I like using the signature to come back onto stage, but it doesn't always work. Of course, there's a pretty big blind spot right in between your hurt box and the attack's hitbox, but if you're careful enough, you won't need to worry about that blind spot. I'm already liking the spear signatures a whole lot, and we've still got another one to talk about. Spear on Sig is the weird one here, not holding any certain force amount in game, of course, because why would BMG make anything easy for me? Of course, this is mainly done with signatures that include projectiles, like Caspian's Gauntlet Down Sig, for example. Which makes me wonder why it happens here. The only way I can assume it happens is the spear throw doesn't count as something that's part of Orus' kit, but whatever. I estimated it to be around 48 variable force and 50-55 fixed force, with King Zuva's Hammer Insig and Cassidy's Hammer Downsig as the 2 reference points. My main takeaway from this is it kills at a fine spot, honestly. Maybe a little late if I'm being honest, but I honestly believe that's because it's so easy to hit. When the hitbox comes up, it doesn't only continue going up, it also keeps a hitbox where it started going up initially. So trying to jump back from this offstage can prove to be really challenging if you don't know about it. But getting that timing down should really help with people when they're being edge guarded against it. Or if you're the one edge guarding. Otherwise, yeah, it's really safe to use. Fantastic spear signatures as always, and these ones might go under the radar if people ignore Orus for long enough. Chakram Insig is unfortunately his worst signature in my opinion, and I hate saying this because while I do see potential in it, that being as a mix-up move with his light attacks, preferably after 1 or 2 attacks, you need to use it much differently here than on a whim at any time. I know a lot of people say the Sig is really good, and I don't know, it just doesn't hit right for me. The force is nice for killing on the ceiling, sitting at 48-50, while the damage sits at the most out of Orus' entire kit, 27. I know in the Power Reviewer inside training mode it says 24, but this is the base strength for Orus, 6, mirroring a 6 defense legend. This is the most accurate it gets. Again, I would love to see this one used more, but I think it's just my playstyle that holds me back from figuring it out. Not gonna say you can't succeed with it, because again, a lot of people say it's really good, but it'll take some practice for sure. Chakram Side Sig is pretty straightforward, honestly. All you do is a dash forward, hitting with 52-52 force, the most force we know about, at least in Orus' kit, and 23-25 damage, depending on how you hit it. It's just nice to use on a whim since the startup isn't so bad to deal with. It's just easy to mess up, similarly to Chakram Insig. These 2 signatures I actually feel like are harder to use than any of the other Chakram Legends signatures. Lady Vera's Chakram Side Sig is a top 3 contender for sure, but all the other Chakram Legends signatures apart from that are, in my opinion, actually really, really easy to learn. And honestly makes me wonder why people don't play more Chakram because of this, but honestly that's a story for another day. Chakram Down Sig, finally, the odd one out in the Chakram kit. Why use your Chakram as a shield when you can just use it as a projectile? Duh. This one stunned me the most on release because it just seemed so unreactable, which sounds like a gold opinion, I know, but that's just how it was on release, and it kind of is for a lot of signatures, but it's also because there's a lot of smaller details in this signature specifically. I do believe it's still a fairly fast signature, pretty safe too, similarly to Queen Knight's Spear Down Sig. The force sits at an even 50-50 once again, and 23 damage. The force does go down to 40-40 whenever the signature is close to ending as well. You may already know the signature has 2 other variants as well, a wall variant and an aerial variant, which we're not going to spend too much time on. The wall variant is much more rare to see in action, and I honestly think it's better than the grounded version. The dunking power here is actually insane. Like, I can't believe people aren't talking about this. As for the aerial version, though, I'm not too sure. It leaves you very vulnerable and only covers that area in front of you, not to mention the force goes down quicker than the other 2 versions. And there's only 2 attacks, obviously. All very similar signature variants, with each one ranking just slightly different. The wall version being the best, the aerial version being the worst, and then the normal version being the most normal. Fun fact, I originally believed that this signature had active input. The reason I believe this was because before patch 10.09, if you used downsig and you phased through a platform, you would always get the aerial variant. And I honestly thought it was just like a bug or active input and I had no clue how to put it. But hey, they fixed that, and this signature doesn't have any active input in any form actually. A very fun sig to use if you know its gimmick, and easily the best of his Chakram signatures. With that all being said, both weapons have crazy potential, but his spear game shines much brighter. I was tempted to wait until they nerfed him to make this analysis, but I've already been waiting for too long. Orus doesn't deserve to be forgotten that quickly. On to Orus' stats. He has 6 strength, 6 dexterity, 6 defense, and 4 speed. Yeah, that's a very interesting stat lineup, man. Jokes aside, this is an amazing stat lineup. Finally, a balanced stat Chakram legend exists. You could always get it with stances before, but this is the first Chakram legend that's actually balanced, for the most part. But oh boy, do we have some stuff to explain. This is the first legend analysis where super stances are being considered, as the last analysis was before super stances released, which really shows you how long I've been slacking. So while I won't be covering each stance individually, I will be covering the super stances with their respective stance and comparing the two. Challenge stance will not be considered for legend analysis videos, mainly because we already know how they work. It's just -2 points on each stat. It arguably makes them worse, obviously. We don't need to extend a video further than it needs to be. You'll see how it works in a second here. There's so much diversity with Orus' stat lineup, since he can bring any of his 6-point stats up to 8 if you would like to. Obviously, besides speed. Both strength and super strength are great options. It just depends on whether you prefer more strength over defense, but both were great. The extra dexterity is nice, but doesn't feel necessary due to having 6 base already, and taking out from both strength and defense, I'd probably pass on the dexterity stances. Defense could have been so good if they didn't make it take out of speed, and yet there had to be one stance to take out of speed, and this tankier build of Orus is neat and all, but yeah, no, we're not playing 3 speed. I'd advise avoiding the defense stances. It's just going to be a tough time in general if you're running defense. Then lastly, we have speed. Running either speed stances results in a balanced stat lineup, which isn't a first for Chakram at this point, but is a nice option to have in general. If you're running speed stance at all, I would just recommend super speed, as it takes out of dexterity in that case. I mean, take the extra points where you can get them, right? Let me know what stance you like running on Orus if you've been playing him, because I've been using a couple of them, but I'm interested to see what other people have been trying out. As for his play rate, it's hard to say. Orus wasn't properly added to Brawlmance like Lady Vera was, so his play rate appeared skewed. Right now, he's in 21st place. If he's being played more than Nai, then honestly, I think he's doing okay right now. I haven't fought many Orus players myself, like, I think I've literally seen just a handful, but I trust that he's finding a spot in Valhalla. With all that in consideration, that makes Orus pretty damn solid. Until they nerf those signatures, my placement is final. Tier list-wise, of SABC and D, I'd place Orus at S- tier. Although he has arguably no negatives, a flexible stat lineup, stellar signatures, I don't see him playing better than any of the other current best legends, also known as not Spear or Chakram. For a majority of the player base though, have fun with him. He's still got some neat details worth acknowledging. Now, let's talk about the fun stuff. His skins all stick out in their own ways, and there's only 4 including the default skin. Let's rank them. God tier, I'd place Free Smith Inquisitor. Just a clean skin overall, something that sticks out well from what Orus is about. It specifically takes color swaps nicely, which is why it's placed at the top for me. I mean, come on, look at this setup. It's pretty peak, right? Pretty good tier has Centurion and God of Boar Orus. I know some people would probably rank Centurion lower for looking a little bit plain, but that's what makes it appealing in my opinion. It doesn't do too much while still applying new features to Orus' design. And also, Crystal Forge just makes him look like Minecraft Steve with diamond armor. God of Boar Orus does more with his design for sure. I just rank it slightly lower for the color swaps looking a little bit off. Great design though, and this was the one I was using for a while. And in average tier, we have default Orus. I've actually barely looked at Orus' default design, and I mean, this is legit the first new legend we've had in a decade with these unique pupil types. Only a few legends have this feature, specifically Nash, Qinghao, and Lucian, and as far as I know, no one else. There's a chance there's probably a legend skin I'm forgetting, and I know those legends also have skins that give them actual pupils, maybe not Nash and Lucian, but at least Qinghao. This is actually why default Orus in particular felt so much like an old Brawlhalla design to me, and actually why it's not average tier, it's in pretty good tier. Have fun changing that graphic for me, editor lover lady. Also, the weapon skins on default are like, actually top tier. What the hell? I mean, don't sleep on these weapon skins for sure. In terms of other cosmetics, we all know new legends don't really have many to begin with. Orus has his doodle avatar, or Roodle, his bot name, Orus Boticus, which is obviously like a Coliseum or like gladiator joke, and his level 50 title, The Gladiator. A title I'm actually surprised we haven't seen until year 11 of Brawlhalla, but here we are. While I am excited for some new skins for Orus in the future, I would love to see what kind of emojis or uniquely designed avatars the team can make for Orus. On to the last section. Lore. Invalidus Orus Maximus was the best gladiator in the Colosseum for quite some time too. Combat was Orus's sustenance, the people his lifeblood. He set all sorts of records, defeated all sorts of foes, but as his foes fell one by one, the Colosseum emptied more and more, and he remained, not even falling to time itself. The Valkyries actually didn't know about Orus. It was thanks to Nyx for finding him. Which, I mean, thanks to Mercury anyways, who, long story short, is Hermes, messenger of the gods. But this is the first legend we know of that Nyx actually brought to Valhalla, similarly to Brynn, who brought legends like Fate, Red Raptor, and Taros to Valhalla. Which, fun fact, is how we see Brynn and Nyx meet in the Brawlhalla Tales comic. I really love this detail. Somehow this lore section turned into shenanigans about Brynn and Nyx, but as for Orus, he likes to sleep in the center stage of Thunderguard, waiting for the next battle. And Zariel absolutely doesn't fuck with that, but what are you gonna do? One thing I want to point out is something Serendipitous mentioned in his lore analysis. He mentioned that Orus's pupils were clear, like I had mentioned a little earlier, but he mentioned Orus not being entirely human. And I didn't just want to dismiss that because Orus not human was basically rattling around in my brain. So I left a comment wondering what he meant by that, and here's what I got. Orus is the embodiment of the Roman Colosseum, combined with the blessings of the Roman gods. Yeah, these two things took the blood of warriors, the gold of betters and profiteers, and Roman concrete to create a legend. And man, Baron, I wouldn't have put it any other way. I thought Orus's design looked a little off at first, but now it all adds up. Orus looks like a normal guy, but when you actually read his lore, you realize he's much more than that, and I find that really interesting. It also makes me like his skins a little bit more too, as I believe these to be other forms gladiators took on before eventually Orus was created. Or they could just be entirely other people. I think that'd be really cool too. It's those skins that really defines what Orus is all about, in my opinion. Hey, editor lover lady here. I actually wanted to squeeze one last thing in here that kind of reinstates this whole point I'm trying to make about Orus not being a normal human. His store description specifically states, born of the Colosseum itself, the hopes and dreams of every fallen gladiator made manifest. Which, yeah, I feel like that really locks in that Orus isn't just some ordinary human. He was somehow manifested from all of the hopes and dreams of the Colosseum and all the gladiators who had fallen before him, which I think is really, really cool. Overall, his lore is pretty simple on the surface, but I like the other implications it has for other characters. This is basically becoming a regular thing to say each video, but huge thanks to Serendipitous for his Orus lore analysis. It helped a lot in shaping the lore section of this video, specifically the whole Orus isn't human segment. And overall, I do really like Orus in every category. Most players see new legends as just spammer legends who should be forgotten about, but I see potential. And Orus as a legend in Brawlhalla has a lot of potential. But what are your thoughts on the gladiator himself? Do you think he's too strong, too weak, or is Orus in a good spot right now? Definitely let me know down in the comments because, of course, I'm always curious. And these legend analysis videos really do take a lot of time to craft, so I would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel or even like the video, share it with your friends. It genuinely does help out a whole lot, and you can always unsubscribe at any time if you would like. But until next time, y'all always make sure to keep on brawling.